C'est fait beau.
Oui.
Hello. Did you meet Barry? Everybody knows everybody. Hello.
Barry.
My friends.
Yeah.
My two producers. My life. Never go anywhere.
Brian.
How you doing, Brian?
Peter.
Very good. Peter?
Barry.
Barry? Yeah.
So where they want to do it outside with this light?
Anywhere you want. Anywhere you want. Did you stop? But did you say hello to our friend
No.
in the restaurant?
No.
They're expecting. Let's just go and
Oh,
say
let's go and say hello.
Come on.
How are you?
Very good. Very good.
Did you speak at all with that?
Low energy, you said.
Yeah. For a dialogue scene, right? Imagine if it was an action scene. Yeah, it's an action from Dre. How well do they know her as an actress?
But the soprano is on the cable in French.
Hey.
This is my partner, Frankie.
Frank.
Here we go.
Hi.
Where are we, Abel?
Pierre is the lone wolf for the step.
We're at Paul and Jimmy's
I like
restaurant.
Paul and Jimmy's restaurant on 18th Street between Irving and Park, New York. You just say Frankie and you get a 10% discount. On top of 20 cent
It was
discount.
15 you told me.
So, everyone just walk around a little bit
Okay.
and then we'll be back.
Okay.
Notice the place is packed at 6:30 on a Saturday.
Well, all right. I'll see you later.
See you later.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
All right, I'll see you
Best
later.
food in town. Sorry. No, it's all right. Don't go. So, how are we gonna do this? We're gonna you got a list of questions?
Yeah, I got some questions.
You got the bishop.
The bishop, which is not admitted.
No, yeah, there's no blue.
No blue on the same place.
No, a Spanish proud. So anyway, look what happened to my here. This was this might be our new
Same
restaurant.
place.
What happened? What
This was the rival of that place. It's Marino's. This was an Italian restaurant.
But what
This is
happened to
Union Square. He went. You know, he went upstate. You know,
Oh.
he did. He went. Yeah, he left Manhattan. He went for the long haul. All right. So, you got your list of questions or what?
Yeah, I got some notes. Alright.
You want to walk or talk?
Oh, there's the bench. You want it?
Let's go to stand up right here. Is that all right with you? We can move.
Yeah, but
We
let's.
can do whatever you want.
I need both these guys.
No problem.
There's no good directors. Okay, real serious now. Go ahead.
So the first question is kind of obvious. Why?
Oh, whoops.
It's mainly the title. R Xmas. R Xmas.
Our Christmas. Our Christmas is a contraction for our. O-U-R. And Christmas, X. Put the Christ back in Christmas. I don't know how this Christmas, Xmas. That's like, right? I mean, that's common. I would say. To me, yeah,
Very common.
yeah. You know what I mean? In other words, you don't like to use the word Christ in, you know what I'm saying, in Italian so much. Watch that boom.
Boom up.
Yeah, boom up, boom down. Okay, sound right there. We're here. Okay. Pierre, give me. Don't be shy, Pierre.
Our Christmas with
No, our Christmas. So it's a contraction for our Christmas. It's like the point of our funeral.
And R and X are the meaning in the title or not? Movie-wise.
Put the Christ back in Christmas. But it's a Christmas movie, like It's a Wonderful Life. What are the great Christmas movies?
well, some kind of new version of It's a Wonderful Life.
I would say so. I would say so in a way. Although Jimmy Stewart, there's no replacement.
How do you see when you say our? Who is us? In Our Christmas?
I think it's the family. You know, it's about a family. You know what I mean? It's about a husband and wife, and it's about a woman who is willing to put it all on the line. You know what I mean? It's put to the test. I mean, in every which way. You know what I'm saying? In other words, it's easy to say love, L-U-V, but when you have to act out love, L-O-V-E, that's another. You know what I mean?
Well, what does she have to do?
Well,
Just to prove that.
Well, I mean, she has to. What does she have to do? She has to go to the extreme. You know what I mean? She has to make the. She's willing to make the supreme sacrifice, which is life without parole or death, whichever you choose.
Can you tell me a little bit about where these people come from, or who are they exactly, and where?
The heroes.
The family
Hero.
are heroes. The wife, hero. That's a funny word for it. Heroine.
Heroin.
Yeah, heroin. It's an inside joke. She's an American-born Puerto Rican woman from Upper Manhattan. He's a native Dominican Republic, a native from Dominican Republic, and he came to the U.S. like most of the people, almost every member of my country, with the exception of the Indians, seeking their fame and fortune at the expense of anybody else who came. And he came seeking her, you know what I mean? He came, he wanted it all. He was in love with her, he came looking for her. He wanted to make a life, quote unquote, better than he had, but he was ready to go back, you know what I'm saying? He was ready to make his fortune and go home. I don't think he was really, at this point, maybe he's in the point of wondering whether he's going to make a commitment to the United States, to New York City, you know what I'm saying? And the whole bit. So, rags to riches, so to speak. He's got a small little business making around $400,000 or $500,000 a week.
Doing what?
Anyway, they're selling drugs, basically. You know, selling, not using.
They don't use it?
No. The film is about the business of drug sales in New York, 1992. The film is set like 8 years ago. It seems like 800 years ago.
Why? What's the difference?
Giuliani, the mayor.
Mayor Giuliani.
Why?
New York, well, you know, I think everything. Time, you know, New York is a fast city, so 8 years is like, how do they say, like dog age? You know, like every year in a dog, 7 years to anyone else. So 1 year in New York is 7 years to the rest of the world, except for Paris. It's 3.5.
What was the big difference under Dinkins?
I think for them, like a very open mind to economy at all costs. I think they felt, I think the government itself felt that, you know, nonviolent crime, they weren't as worried about it as quality of life, it's called. Which means if you walk around with an uncapped beer bottle, you can get your ass thrown in jail for a few nights. To remind you to think about the quality of life and how you're responsible for your neighbor's quality of life. And a vote for Giuliani. He's our brother, he's Italian, from Brooklyn.
So?
But I'm from the Bronx. Pierre's from Brooklyn. Brooklyn. So, go ahead.
And when you saw these people that made it, getting a lot of money using drugs,
You're not using drugs, you're selling drugs.
selling drugs,
They're not using drugs.
yeah. What do you want? What do you try to say? Is it the only way to make it now?
The only way to make it. No, I'm not saying this. We're talking about how to make, you know, what's the price of money? And what's the price of success? You know what I mean? And what, you know, how far you can go. You know what I mean? To, when does what you earn go over into, you know, taking it away from other people who need it. You know what I mean? What is the real balance of, you know what I mean, finance and quality of life? Because every dollar you make, you're taking it from somebody else. So at what point does the money you make go beyond, you know what I mean, providing, and goes on destructing the people you're taking it from? From each according to his ability, to each according to their needs. If you got the money. You know what I mean? And if you ain't got the do-re-mi, boy, you dig? All right, 2 more minutes. Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
What-
You got this whole book full of questions?
Yeah, it's just not. Do you want to write it?
What? No,
wanna read it?
I don't want to write it. What did you do? Love? No.
It's a party
Chance to
tonight.
wait. No, he's got party. I thought these were questions he worked on last night. So how long you been in New York?
Just 2 days.
Oh.
Yeah, I live in LA.
Oh, really?
It's
Yeah.
Canal Plus LA for.
Canal Plus LA. We're Canal Plus New York.
Yeah, they
You like
exist.
What?
How do you feel in New York today?
Today is beautiful today.
I mean,
Nowadays.
New York. How do I feel about it? I have no choice. I mean, this is where I am. This is where I live. This is where I work. You know what I mean?
what if you had
It's
a
my
choice?
home. What?
What if you had a choice?
I have a choice. I mean, I don't have a choice. You know, I don't mean that, you know. You know what I'm saying? I have a choice. The choice I made is not have a choice. That New York, do or die.
When you work in LA, when you shoot a movie in New York, actually, when you shoot a movie in the street of New York, is it really different for you that when you shoot it in Miami or in other cities? Are you a
Yeah.
different director?
Yeah, you know, you're gonna adapt to your surroundings. I mean, basically a film is a film is a film. You know what I mean? I mean, you're creating a space. But obviously, you know, you make a choice and you work. It's not so enclosed, man. You know, life comes over into the shot as much as you try to keep it out. You know what I mean? You saw it last night. I mean, I couldn't find my director's chair. There was these 6-year-olds calling cut after one. They said Vivi
Won't
was
even
so
say
upset.
I'm the director.
Vivi
Here you
was so
go.
upset. These children make me insane. You know, they're kids. So we're shooting uptown, which is because New York is like a lot of cities. You know what I mean? This is one city. This is Gramercy. This is a fashionable Gramercy Park. But actually, we're in a beautiful part of town. It's like 115th and Martin Luther King Boulevard.
Cuban New York.
Spanish New York.
You were shooting in
Black New
Spanish
York.
Harlem yesterday.
Not really, that's Harlem. Spanish Harlem's a little farther east. Spanish Harlem, Dominican Harlem, Black Harlem.
Because in your previous gangster movie, you were shooting in different neighborhoods. What are you trying to do? Like a map of the different neighborhood of New York?
Well, you know, it depends on the piece. I like when, you know, you could just pinpoint a spot and stay in it, like in The Addiction, or in this film, you know, we're basically in uptown, you know. But you know, it's the melting pot that hasn't melted. You know what I mean? And that's what we're finding. We're on that line that separates the Dominicans from the Puerto Ricans from the black. Whatever that line is that separates people. And in New York, you know, again, there's that, you know, it's not, you know what I mean? I mean, I love that expression. The melting pot that hasn't melted yet. But
Yeah,
I'm back in 100 years.
Do you
It'll
think it
be
will melt?
it'll be like France. Everybody be one color, one language.
You sure of that? Am I saying that 100 years ago?
That's a good point. But I think the world has become, you know, at least in the United States, you know what I'm saying? But, you know,
What does the movie say about the new mafias, the new gangsters? You're talking about the Dominicans, the Puerto Ricans. It's not anymore about the Italians and the black.
the Italians, please. Italians are bankers and lawyers and mayors.
Jewish too.
And directors. Jewish. I'm gonna be Jewish in the next life.
Life.
Yeah. How many we can? You know, I mean, gangsterism is a state of mind. You know what I mean? I mean, every nationality, you know, has its success stories.
And
And
the unsuccess story.
the what?
The one who doesn't have success. I mean, the
Success?
people on the street and the street people. You talk a lot, beggars, and this is kind of what you showed in your own movies earlier. The people who live on the street. Is it the same now? Is it the same in this one?
This film is about successful people. You know what I mean? Being put to the wall. You know, it's about a successful. It's about people trying to learn what the value of life. They don't know us in this game. I'm another unknown, pushy New Yorker.
They don't know you're here?
They don't care. What were we saying? Yeah, it's about what, you know, what really is the value of life. I mean, people, you know, finding out that money is, you know, not enough.
What would you say is the best way to learn the values of life?
To live it.
What's the best way to learn the values of life?
To live it. You know, full tilt. All the way. You know what I mean? Not be afraid. Hey!
You know him? Who's that guy?
He's a filmmaker.
The filmmaker. I know that.
Anyway, so,
What's the part of the cops in the story? Are they very present?
yeah, the one is kind of the noble, you know, noble character in as much as, you know, he's trying to find some kind of solution, you know what I mean, to what he perceives as a problem. You know what I mean? But like, you know, it's hard to say. Yeah, I'd say all the characters I say have their own nobility. You know what I mean? So, I mean, if one had to use those terms, he would be quote unquote the hero. But I don't know, Ice-T, I can't see him in a white hat. You know what I mean? That's a Kango. So, my time is up because I have to go
Your time
back
is
to
up.
work. Well, how long is this show? 2 hours or what? It's another
It's
movie.
gonna, it might be
Gonna
a
be,
special.
Let me see your
Special.
credential. Special on who? Pierre?
On your movie?
On our movies?
Yeah.
Really?
Special on
On Canal
15
Jimmy?
the
minutes.
final
Canal
of
Plus.
Journal
15
de
minutes.
Yeah.
Try an hour and a half.
That's the length of
Let's
the
see
movie.
What?
What's the length of the movie?
Is this Canal Plus?
Yeah,
You work
it
for
is.
Canal Plus?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
It's in the
He's,
car. I gave it
he's
to
in
you.
the car. He's in the car.
He's in charge
so
of
is mine.
entertainment
He's in charge. How's Manuel doing?
Which Manuel? Manuel
Chic.
Fish? It's great.
Alright.
Yeah. And
Anyway, where are you guys staying at?
I'm staying at the Trump Hotel. I'm here for another junket.
The Trump.
Yeah, it's great.
Trump Towers.
And
I hope it ain't on our bus.
just one more thing about the movie.
Go ahead.
How did you choose all these actors, which are like really faces more than well-known actors? How did you choose them?
They're actors, you know. I mean, right now they're young, you know. Lilio was discovered by, you know, for De Niro's movie. And he's like very up and very strong, you know, young kid who, you know, I met, you know, and I really, really, really like him a lot. You know, I really love working with him. Drea is another one. You know, these are two people who are starting their, you know, at the beginning of their career, so it's very exciting. You know what I mean? Because I'm working with them for the first time. And, but I feel like I've known him for a long time. You know what I'm saying? And Ice is, you know, another one who's just like at an early point in his acting, you know, career. Not that I don't like that word, but in his acting life. You know what I mean? So they're only, I mean, their faces, you know, they could touch their, you know, the reality. They're bringing themselves, you know, they're acting in that school. You know what I mean? You know, I mean, Lilio learned well, you know. Imagine doing your first film with De Niro as your father, right? I mean, you can't go wrong, right?
And how do you?
I can't, they could go on forever. Go ahead.
Just one more.
All right,
One more.
one more.
I
He said
swear.
last time. Go ahead. He swears. Go ahead.
How do you feel on the set nowadays? How do you feel on the set of the movie?
I feel good, you know what I mean? Because I'm surrounded by friends, and it's something we really believe in, you know what I mean? And we all work really hard to make it happen. You know, because, you know, it's a challenge. The nature of the film, it's not just nature of film. Any film is a challenge to put together. You know what I mean? And we, you know, and I really got to thank these guys big time. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, it could be horrible. You know what I'm saying? It could be, you know, heaven or hell. You know what I'm saying? And in the end, the film's gonna get made. But there's films that are life-affirming, and there's films that make you wanna, you know what I mean, cry. But this is really, it's a good experience. But it's, you know, it's better, you know, we're going that way. You know what I'm saying? The best is yet to come. You know what they say? You ain't seen nothing yet. All right? I'm done. All
Thanks,
right?
Abel.
All right, you gotta go. All right? You
Bye-bye.
gotta take it.
I have your drug. I want to get your card.
All right.
Look, I told you when I showed him the hat on.
Abel Ferrara, how did you get the idea to do that movie, Christmas?
You know, the story was told to me by someone, whether it was true or not. You know, I mean, it was fascinated me, and also the idea of shooting a true story, you know, quote unquote. I mean, if any story is true, you know, I mean, that was its genesis, but it's gone through a lot of changes. You know?
How could you describe the story of that movie?
That's it. You know, I mean, a husband and wife approaching Christmas, doing very well for themselves, and then the husband is kidnapped, and her whole world is turned upside down. And now she has a small amount of time to basically save her family from destruction. How else am I gonna, you know what I mean?
Yeah?
That's, you know. Hitchcock says if you can't tell your story of your film in one sentence, you're in trouble.
And why did you choose to place that story in '93? Because
Well, it happened in '93, so we took on the attitude that we were gonna do it exactly the way it happened. You know what I mean? So it's Christmas time in '93, we weren't gonna change anything, you know what I mean? That was like at least the place we started from, you know?
And what does it change since '93?
A tremendous amount. I mean, I was surprised about how, when you really get down to doing it, how much the world has changed. You know, like we did a period piece, The Funeral, say, was set in 1936. And you know, from 36 to at that time, I guess 96, that was 60 years. But I think that the world has changed as much in the last 6 years or last 8 years or 9 years as it did in that 60. You know what I mean? I mean, it's amazing how, when you really get down to it, how in constant flux and constant change, you know, the world you live in is. You know what I mean?
Why are you obsessed with drugs in your movie?
I think the characters are. I mean, I think the drugs are like, you know, just a side bar of a, you know, overamped lifestyle, of which, you know, what are we gonna make films about? You know, I mean, we're not. You know, when I say reality, I'm talking about heightened reality. You know, what do you say? My films aren't a slice of life; they're a slice of cake.
Could you tell me about the shooting of the movie, because it is supposed to be in winter and you have shot this movie in summer?
And yeah, on top of that, imagine, you know, be surprised how green New York is when you don't want, you know, when you can't see it, you know. It forced us to be very much in control of the frame, you know, so it was just a discipline that we dealt with. You know.
How did you choose the actors, and especially Drea and Mateo?
Dre, I mean, we bumped into her hanging out one night. So I had not even seen her on Sopranos, or maybe I did, I don't remember, since the night I saw her, you know what I mean? And she's good. I dig the Sopranos and I dig her in it, but you know, I'm not basing my judgment on an actress on how they work with someone else, you know? So when I met her, and it became, you know, obvious, because it's obvious that we need a very powerful actress to play this part.
Did she surprise you during the shooting?
Well, I had high expectations, so let's say surprise wasn't the word, but there was a lot of satisfaction.
And what about Lilio, Brancato, and Ice-T?
The three separate stories, well, that's separate. Ice-T was on that plane. I can't believe it. They said, anyway, get it. What's the question again?
How did you meet them? Lilio and Ice-T?
I mean, Lilio hangs out. I know him from the neighborhood. You know, he's from the street. So, Ice-T, we were reaching out for someone who could play that part. We needed a black, you know, a black cop who was, you know, from, what do you call it? From the world of, who's going to understand that world of a police officer taking law into his own hands. You know, it was like kind of an out there, you know, when the cops become the gangsters. That's a pretty, you know, serious moment.
Do you think this movie is lighter than all the other ones you've done?
I don't think so, you know what I mean? But then again, maybe I'm not the right one to judge it, you know? I mean, I think there's a lot of, there's a very dark world of, you know...
But it is soft.
In terms of what?
The story is about the cinematographic.
Yeah, about...
And it's another universe. You understand?
I'm not saying it. You know, the character is, you know, in the real world, a gunshot gets fired over 10 people, over people's heads, and they're hiding out for a week. You know, you're dealing with a guy who's really, you're seeing how he's reacting to life and death. You dig? Because that's what would happen to this guy. So, I mean, one murder to me is